Welcome to today's meditation time. It is an honor to get to spend these few moments with you as our day is ending and we are beginning a new week. And so let's just all settle in right where we are. Let's get comfortable. Let's allow our body just to find a little bit of relaxation and stillness. And then gently close your eyes or cast your eyes down with a soft gaze, just whatever feels right. And first, before we move into these moments together, before we try to focus into the present moment, just check in with yourself. And first of all, honor the fact that you have shown up. You set aside time, your alarm goes off, and you always have this choice of ignore it and keep being busy, as you most definitely are, or make a choice to pause. And so just honor the fact that you chose to pause. You chose to do something for yourself. And as you honor that about yourself, you will be at the same time honoring this present moment. This moment that exists with one breath in and one breath out. And so in line with that breath, let's settle our bodies and begin to breathe together. So just a nice, slow breath in. And a gentle breath out. And a slow breath in. And a gentle breath out. Breathing in. And breathing out. And I would encourage you just to kind of maintain that rhythm. Don't worry so much about forcing the inhale and the exhale, but truly, gently fill up your lungs, expand through your chest, and then gently release it. Again, honoring this moment, this here and now that we have. And so as usual, I want to just share a few thoughts to really focus our attention so that our mind will be less distracted and our awareness of ourselves will grow just a little bit in these few minutes that we have. And so the last couple of times we've been together, I've introduced this concept of the Gunas, these forces within each one of us. It's a Sanskrit term from thousands of years ago, but what it describes is how we basically respond to all the stuff of life. And a few days ago, I introduced this concept of the Tamas guna. And if you translate that to English, it means the lethargy, the lack of motivation, the heaviness in your spirit, feeling like you're frozen. And we all know that there are situations we encounter in life that we feel that way. We feel heavy, we feel stuck. And then the day after that, I introduced this idea of rajas, this other guna, this other force, and that is the one that is driven and it's competitive, but it's also restless and impatient. And we all know there are things we experience in life that's our response to them. We get impatient, we get agitated, and we just push our energy and our drive forward. But then there's a third guna, and it is the one that we strive for. But the amazing thing is it exists within us already, just like the other two, and the Sanskrit word for that is Sattva. And we talk about having this sattvic way of life. And if you ever see this image representing these three gunas, you see them in this circle, and they all three have a part within us, because within our day, we navigate so many things. And it could be that we're pulling from this tamasic side of us of just, feeling heavy and stuck. And then this next situation comes, or this next encounter with the person, and all of a sudden our restlessness and our impatience kicks in. And then all of a sudden we show up to meditation, or we show up on our mats, or we find ourselves sitting in the middle of nature, and all of a sudden that third guna is there. And we draw from this sattvic way of being. Sattva is the balance. It is the one that's just as present as the other two, although I know that sometimes we feel like one of those other two is the dominant. But what our meditation practice gives us is, number one, it calms the restlessness of rajas. And then number two, it inspires and it energizes the heaviness of Tamas. And then what it really allows us to do through this time that we spend growing quiet and present is over time, it actually begins to condition us, our meditation practice does, to have Sattva as our default, to have the balanced way of approaching these things that we encounter as the default. We come at things with peace and calm in our heart instead of restlessness or wanting to give up. Now, when we feel those other two ways, it does not mean there's anything wrong with us and that we're not good people, that we're not good yogis, that we're not attempting to have this meditative lifestyle. But what we learn in meditation is that the more we show up and we grow quiet and still in our body and in our mind and in our heart, we start catching more glimpses of this sattvic way of living until it's what we desire. And I've asked a lot of questions before in all of these meditation sessions that I get to partake in with you. I ask this question often of, what do we want? What's our purpose? And sometimes those questions seem so big and the answer seems so out of reach. But what I would like to propose here as we just begin to scratch the surface of this concept of the Sattva Guna is that's what we want. We want to live in the middle where the peace and the calm and the equilibrium lie. And our purpose is to live from that perspective. And yes, we're going to have bigger purposes that are more unique to each of us, but every human being, just imagine if we all could answer the question of what do you want? And we could answer it with, I want Sattva. I want the balanced, peaceful, calm way of living through this experience of life. I know I'm going to experience suffering. I know there are going to be situations that feel like they've knocked the props out from underneath me. I know there are going to be people that hurt me. And I also know there's going to be these little inconsequential things that just inconvenience me. But even in the midst of all of those, we can choose to make Sattva balanced, peaceful, calm living as our default. And so as I pause, I would encourage each of us just to think, do you struggle more, and do I struggle more with the restlessness of this rajas? Or do you struggle more, do I struggle more with the heaviness, the lethargy, the unmotivation of Tamas? And I know you can all find situations, as can I, where both of those have kind of been the dominating force in my life. But just ask yourself in this moment, going into this week, which one do you most typically struggle with the most? The freezing and not acting, or the pushing through? And then let's just dedicate these next few minutes of quiet to allowing this sattvic way of being, this balanced, peaceful, in the middle way of being. Let's let it begin to rise just a little bit higher up than the one that you said you struggle with the most. It's not about fixing ourselves. It's not about making a 30-day plan or a list. It is just making a commitment that I recognize this about myself. And I want to do something to make different choices. I want to introduce an interruption to my old patterns, my old habits. And I want Sattva, the balanced, equilibrium approach to life. I want that to be my default. And so I'm going to pause, and I will sit here in my present moment with my reflections, and you do the same where you are. And when the mind starts to wander and get distracted, just think about that word, sattva. Sattva, balanced, even living. And as we each continue just to breathe and to be in this space where we are, I want to recognize all three of these forces exist within us. And the way we've been taught by the sages of thousands of years ago is that they all three exist equally. And I know the question comes of, but wait a minute, can't we get to the point where one can outweigh the other? We can make sattva bigger. But the way we're taught about the gunas is that truly it's this circle. And each one has 1/3 of this circle that it represents. And what that circle then symbolizes is our choice. That every situation we will encounter from this moment forward, we will have 3 equal options. We can choose to approach it with restlessness and impatience and competitiveness and sometimes a little aggression. We can choose to approach it by shrinking back and freezing and losing our motivation. Or we can choose to approach it with balanced equalness, calm and peace. So we're not trying to get to a state in our life where the sattva becomes the dominating one. It just needs to become the choice that we choose the most often. Because every time a person hurts you or a situation frustrates you, you have 3 equal choices, 3 forces working within you that you can pick from. And so wouldn't it be amazing? Not wouldn't it? Won't it be amazing when we can each get to the point we're choosing sattva, balanced, equalness, evenness in our choices becomes our default. I can tell you that I don't always choose that one, but I do feel the twinge inside of me on the times that I don't. And so the more often that it becomes a natural choice, it truly can become our default. We were not intended to live lives of lethargy, of unmotivated approaches to life. We were not intended to live lives of aggression and restlessness. We were truly intended to live balanced, even lives, where even through the suffering and the disappointments, we can maintain that balance. And so as we get ready to close our time, just continue to picture that circle within you, these 3 forces. And I know, because I asked you and I asked myself, which one do I oftentimes tend to choose most? And just be intentional in the days to come about choosing differently. Again, it's not making a plan. It's not making a list. It's not blaming yourself for being disappointed in what you've chosen already. It's making a choice in this moment now. Which force will be your default? which will you choose the most often? And the more you begin to think about it, the more you're going to see the effects of your meditation practice, your yoga practice, manifesting in your everyday life. That is my wish for you, and that is my wish for me. Namaste.